What's going on, people? LP2000 right back at you with another video. Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Collector Monsters. And we have been waiting for this. We've been highly anticipating this. We have been clamoring for it. And after the months of waiting with eager anticipation, this figure set is finally here. It's not a pipe dream anymore. It's not a fantasy anymore. It is in our possession right now. Again, this is great. This is so great. So you already clicked the title. You know exactly who we're covering here. Arguably the figure of the year. More on that later. But without further ado, let's dive headfirst into this awesome X Plus double figure review. And today we're taking a look at the X Plus 30cm figure set review of the favorite Sculptors line Godzilla vs. Ebirah 1966 set. From their epic appearance in the 1966 film Godzilla Ebirah Mothra, Big Duel in the South Seas, also known as Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And as you can see, I have the beautiful set here in all its glory, or their glory, I should say. Oh man, this is, woo! Again, as I said just a few seconds ago, we have been waiting for this. We've been asking for it. We've been clamoring for it. We've been anticipating it. And now it is finally here, and it has surpassed everything that I wanted when it came to this set. You know what I'm saying? This is great. So you know we do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with the packaging before we get into the figures themselves. And of course, it's a picture of the box with, of course, the picture of the figures themselves. Not a black silhouette or anything like that. You know, really colorful packaging. Kind of like the film, because the film is a really colorful film as well. You know, set on a tropical island and whatnot. But the packaging really resembles not only the figures, but like I said, the film itself, where you have both Godzilla and Ebirah, favorite Sculptors line, the multicolored title of the film in Japanese text, Godzilla Ebirah Mothra, blah, 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 blah. So really cool packaging. Again, I'm getting to the point where I have to trash my boxes because I'd rather have space for new figures than boxes. It's been kind of hard, quite frankly, because you all know me. I have been known to really just save all my boxes, but as of late, I've been having to trash them. But I keep the artwork, which is something that a lot of collectors have done in the past, and I highly recommend you do the same. If you're in a position like me, if you're in a position like me where you still collect your packaging, at some point those boxes will add up and they will accumulate a lot of space. And again, with all this stuff coming out, you're going to need more space for more figures versus packaging. So again, just cut off the artwork on the box and store them in another box, and then you'll be good to go. That's what I'm doing. And I'm definitely saving this box art, because this box art is amazing, it's awesome, it's colorful, and I really do enjoy it. Oh my god. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the X Plus favorite Sculptors line 30cm double figure set review, or figure set review I should say, of both Ebirah and Godzilla 1966 from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And here's the backstory with us finally getting this figure in our hands, or this set in our hands. This one kind of came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. It was first showcased at the Winter Wonder Festival show earlier this year in February in Japan. It was showcased there. And that show was noteworthy of a couple other things besides this set. You know, they first showed images of the upcoming 25cm MonsterVerse King Ghidorah 2019. A couple of duffel reels were shown there. You know, the 67 Godzilla, I think the 73 Godzilla, Megalon, you know what I'm saying, they were shown there. The controversial 25cm set or reissue set of both Godzilla and Gigan was shown there. But I think without question, this thing stole the show. It did for me, and I'm sure for a lot of other people. This thing stole the show because, again, we had no idea this thing was coming, and this was like a bomb that was dropped at that show. And it came up for a pre-order, I want to say in April. And it was a Rick exclusive. There were no standard release of this figure, you know what I'm saying, or this set, I should say. And it was due to arrive originally in August. But again, we're going through delays because, you know, we are kind of going through a pandemic and a couple other factors playing into that. Then it was pushed back to September. But then around late September, from what I understand, I think a typhoon hit Japan or a strong storm hit Japan, which probably impacted the way they would ship out goods from the country. So that added on a little bit more of a delay. And we're finally getting this guy mid-October 2022. And again, I understand that people were really kind of antsy and highly upset that this thing was pushed back because we've been highly anticipating this thing. I get that, but it's also part of the game. When you're an S Plus collector or a collector of Japanese figures from Japan, you have to understand sometimes these things happen. Delays happen. And as somebody who works in the transportation industry, I'm a truck driver. I go to these both mail centers and package centers and stuff like that. Trust me, as drivers and couriers, as package handlers or parcel handlers, we're doing all that we can to ensure that these packages get out safely or get out as promptly as we can. But we can only do so much. And there are some things that even we can't control, like us, with delays and stuff like that. That's just part of the game. It happens. You know what I'm saying? But, delays, yes, they're not great. But at the same time, it's what you have to deal with as a collector. And still, after delay, this thing is finally in our hands, and it's amazing. Now, this is, of course, taken from a kit. It's taken from the Kaiju Freaks kit, a resin model kit of the same image of Godzilla Judo Flipping Ebirah. You know what I'm saying? Again, it was a resin kit. And I think that resin kit was first released, I want to say 2012. And I think they just reissued it, I want to say sometime this year. Probably to coincide with the fact that X Plus was releasing a vinyl version, you know what I'm saying? So all the kit builders who wanted this kit, kind of my good friend Steve Savaggioli, he was happy that X Plus announced this, but once Kaiju Freaks announced they were going to be reissuing the model kit or resin model kit that this figures were based off of, I think he opted to go for the kit. Either way, if you're a fan of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, whether you go for the kit or for the X Plus version, you owe it to yourself to go after this set, you know what I'm saying? But again, that was taken from the Kaiju Freaks kit. You know what I'm saying? It's not the first Kaiju Freaks kit to make it into the favorite sculptors line. The 30cm Varan, that was a Kaiju Freaks kit, you know what I'm saying? The 30cm Mogera 57, that was a Kaiju Freaks kit. The 30cm Rodan 56, that was a Kaiju Freaks kit, you know what I'm saying? And I hope they will go back to Kaiju Freaks because there's one kit. I mean, they have a bunch of cool kits, don't get me wrong, but there's one kit in particular on their roster that I will love to see X Plus tackle. You know what I'm saying? And it's coincidentally also a battle set between two monsters. They did a kit of the Frankenstein monster going up against a standing version of the 65 Baragon. And that set looks great because I'm a huge fan of Frankenstein Conquers the World. So if X Plus is going into this route of giving us these monsters or these figure sets that are interlocked in combat or combat sets, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind seeing the Frankenstein versus Baragon set to make it in the favorite sculptors line courtesy of Kaiju Freaks. Again, as I mentioned, they got a few Kaiju Freaks sculpts under their belt, so why not add that one? But that's just wishful thinking on my part. But I'm just so highly impressed by this. But I want to see more adaptations from Kaiju Freaks to make it into the favorite sculptors line. And why not start with Frankenstein versus Baragon? You know what I'm saying? Now, speaking of this sculpt right here, this is not the only sculpt from a model kit company that has tackled this pose of Godzilla Judo Flipping Ebirah. Again, we got Kaiju Freaks. I think Yamakawa made a set like this or similar to this, you know what I'm saying? I think Volks did one, if I'm not mistaken. Paradise did one, and I think it was re-released by Falchion. But with all due respect to those kits, I think the Kaiju Freaks is the best one. So I'm glad that out of all the ones that X Plus probably could have chose for this set, I'm glad that they decided to go with the Kaiju Freaks set, you know what I'm saying? And because this is a stunning set. So that's amazing. This is so amazing, man. I'm just happy. I'm looking at it constantly right now. I can't believe it's finally here in all its glory. So this is so amazing. Now, before we go into the nuts and bolts of the review, or at least more into the figures, let me tell you that when you get this set, you have to put it together, and it's not hard. It's relatively easy, quite frankly. It comes with the base, it comes with the nameplate, this pole to suspend Ebirah mid-air, as well as the cradle, and also Ebirah's antennae. They came loose in the package where you have to attach the antennae onto Ebirah himself, and of course Godzilla and Godzilla's tail. All you gotta do is heat up Godzilla's tail, attach to his main body, you know what I'm saying, then put the pole in, and then attach the antennae to Ebirah, and then the claw, the left claw on Ebirah is permanently attached to Godzilla's hand. So all you gotta do is insert the rest of the body of Ebirah into that slot, and also his right claw. His right claw was also a separate piece too, where you got to insert into the body of Ebirah as well. Then put the crate on top of the pole, and then as you insert the Ebirah body into the claw, then you put the rest of his body onto the cradle to make sure that he's not falling down. And make sure, if anything else, make sure that the cradle is secure, and make sure that the body, the latter half of Ebirah's body is secure on the cradle, because Godzilla can't suspend the monster midair by himself. He needs that cradle for Ebirah to maintain him being in the air like that. So make sure that the cradle is intact. But again, it was relatively easy to get this together. The only issue I say I will have with this is that the antennae, sometimes they'll pop out if you move it too much. As you can see here, it's in place. But if you move it a lot, if you transport it a lot from one place to another, the antennae will probably fall out, at least on mine. I can't speak for anybody else's, but you have to really insert the antennae into the body as hard as you can. But sometimes they'll pop out if it's shaking too much, you know what I'm saying? But as long as you leave it alone, as long as you insert the parts into the body and just sit it there and you're not moving it a lot, then you should be good to go. As you can see here, it's not moving, or at least the antennae are not falling out, so that's good. So again, that is the backstory with me getting this figure set, you know what I'm saying, the nuts and bolts about the parts and all that good stuff. Again, make sure that cradle under the latter half of Ebirah's body is secure. I can't stress that enough, you know what I'm saying. But again, if you're locked in to get this guy, or at least these guys, then you're going to love it once he arrives. There's no question about that. Now, before we get into the figures themselves of both Ebirah and Godzilla, let's talk about the base first, because the base is really, really awesome. Now, to my knowledge, as far as the Kaiju Freaks kit is concerned, the original kit, a base didn't come with the original kit at all, to my knowledge. So I think this is something that X Plus whipped up on their own, and it looks really, really good. Where you have this base here, you have like the murky, churning dark water. You have pegs on the base where you could insert Godzilla's feet into the pegs to firmly establish him on the base. That way he can hold Ebirah, right? So again, all you gotta do is put Godzilla's feet, the holes in his feet into the pegs, into the base, and then you're good to go. But I love how they really simulated the water here with this dark and this churning and this murky, you know what I'm saying? Which is appropriate because the first time where Godzilla and Ebirah fight each other, where this moment happens, is during a rainy storm at night. So the water is really, really cool. You have some rocks on the outskirts of the base, symbolizing the island, and some greenery on one of the rocks. Looks really, really good. This base is amazing. I love it. It adds more to the presentation. It adds more to the dynamic feel of the presentation. And last, and certainly but not least, it comes with the nameplate with the Japanese text or logo of the film, Godzilla Ebirah Mothra, Big Duel in the South Seas, where you just insert it into like this small slit here at the front of the base, and you have yourself a complete presentation. So I like that. I like that they added the nameplate as well as the base here. That is awesome. That is awesome. So kudos to X Plus for doing that extra work on making this of a more desirable piece. You know what I'm saying? That's amazing. So let's start with Ebirah. Again, this is a 30 centimeter version of Ebirah. He looks really, really good. Kind of similar to the other 30 centimeter Ebirah that came out, I want to say 2019 or 2018, one of the two. It's been a couple of years. But that figure is really, really cool. Now, when you match them up together, size-wise, they're pretty much the same. Sculpt-wise, they're almost pretty much the same. But there are a couple noticeable differences between the two. Whereas the original Ebirah, his tail is going down, is going downwards, but this Ebirah here, his tail is going upwards because of the position that he's in. You know what I'm saying? The leg placement on both Ebirahs are pretty much the same, quite frankly. The antenna, pretty much the same. Now his claws. Now both claws on the original Ebirah are closed, but as you can see here on the right claw of this Ebirah, it is open. You know what I'm saying? And also there's more darker coloring or at least highlights or in-depth darker highlights on the original Ebirah. But this Ebirah is cool too, you know, with the red all over his body, the shading, the dark shading here and there, a little beige here and there on the outskirts of his claw, at least on the interior of his claws, you know, whatever. It looks really, really good. This is really a cool looking version of Ebirah, quite frankly. Again, not much different than the original 30 centimeter Ebirah, but in my opinion, this Ebirah as well as the original 30 centimeter, I think they are light years better than the 25. And imagine, can you believe that figure, the 25 centimeter version of Ebirah, has gone for stupid money in the aftermarket for so many years? I get it that it's scarce and it's not too many versions of the 25 centimeter Ebirah out there, but that figure has never impressed me. None whatsoever. I think the original 30 as well as this one are just blow that one out of the water. So in my opinion, over time, S Plus has improved on how they have done Ebirah, and this is no exception. Even though again, this is taken from a resin model kit, but still the way S Plus still painted it and put it all together is really, really cool. And of course, he's in midair, you know what I'm saying? He's about to get flipped, he's about to get slammed, courtesy of the King of the Monsters. So again, the sculpt of Ebirah, the paint job of Ebirah, the noticeable difference between this one and the original with his claws open and his tail is upwards, I think it's really, really cool. Ebirah is really, really awesome here. Now, let's go towards the main star of the film, who almost wasn't the main star. Remember? Because again, this film was originally going to be a King Kong film, but Godzilla got substituted at the very, very last minute. And it's still made for one of the funnest Godzilla films of all time, especially from the Showa era, quite frankly. Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Love that film. And of course, this is the second version of the Daisenso Goji suit, who made his first appearance in the previous film, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. And now this version of Godzilla is technically called the Nankai Goji suit, quite frankly. And this is awesome. This is a great, great version of that version of Godzilla, quite frankly. And honestly, between the two suits, I love the 65, but for some reason, I actually love this suit better. You know what I'm saying? Even though it would go through kind of a warped situation later on as the film progressed. But for some reason, he looks meaner. The suit looks darker. It's like, I just love on what they did to it in this film versus Monster Zero. Now, this is Godzilla before the water damage took its toll on the suit, because again, this suit was the primary suit for this film. You know what I'm saying? It didn't have like a water suit to do the water scene to protect this suit. It did everything. It did the water scenes, the land scenes, all that good stuff, and which proved to be its undoing, because the more it stayed in the water scenes, the water kind of deformed the suit. The suit was already baggy enough, but it being in the water, it deformed and warped the suit where it looked like it was drooping. You know what I'm saying? That's why he has that questionable look going towards the latter half of the film, or the tail end of the film. But this moment was taken before all that damage happened, and I really do enjoy that. I really, really do. But still, the sculpt of Godzilla is really, really awesome in its dynamic pose, you know, with his tail going upwards. You know, the dorsal plates, they're sculpted perfectly, in my opinion, almost perfectly. You know, the coloring on them is awesome, you know, as well as Godzilla holding the claw of Ebirah, him roaring upwards, you know, with his mouth having more of a dirty look, like his teeth are not pristine looking, quite frankly. And the eyes, oh my God, this is all Nankai Goji, or 66 Goji in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? Because again, X Plus did make a Nankai Goji Godzilla in the 25 centimeter scale. And when you compare the two, you know, again, that figure was good for its time, but this shows that improvements can be made. And between the two versions, or at least between the two figures, excuse me, again, I kind of like this one better, even though the sculpt, or at least the pose, is not stationary like the 25 centimeter version. It's more, again, it's more of a dynamic pose. But the attention to detail on the skin, the sculpt, the coloring, it's just better here on the 30 here. I mean, nothing against the 25 centimeter version. Again, it was fine for its time, but this one kind of takes the cake in my opinion. But again, and when you compare the two figures, you can argue that this looks like Godzilla when he first makes an appearance in the film, before the water damage took its toll. And the 25 centimeter version of the figure looks like Godzilla after the water damage takes its toll on the suit. You know what I'm saying? Which I think is really cool. I enjoy both versions of Godzilla in the film, quite frankly. Between the two, I like this one better, but I still do love the one where he looked like he's under the influence of something. And we all know what I'm talking about. We all know what I'm talking about. But again, the sculpt of Godzilla, the coloring in his mouth, on his teeth, the eyes, the dorsal plates, the coloring on Godzilla himself, the toenails, the claws, everything. This thing is awesome. S Plus did their thing with this one. And to combine it with Ebirah right here, as well as the base here in the nameplate, you get yourself an awesome package. You know what I'm saying? This is an awesome package between these two monsters, symbolizing a great moment in the film, which I have to address something right fast. Now, of course, I have seen people go back and forth in regards to this figure, or at least in regards to the moment that this figure set is taken from. And I've seen some people say that this was from the film. I've seen some people say that this wasn't in the film. So let me try and clarify that to the best of my ability. Now, there's a popular backstage photo of Godzilla actually suspending Ebirah in midair. But as you can see here on the sculpt, Godzilla is using both his hands to grab one claw. But in one picture, we see Godzilla actually taking both of his hands and kind of military pressing Ebirah, where one hand is like on the front of his body and the other hand is on the latter half of his body. He's military pressing him, about to slam him. And some people think that that moment and this moment is the exact same thing, and it really isn't. Now, again, look at Godzilla here. This does happen in the film, but this sculpt is semi-accurate. And what I mean by that is Godzilla is holding Ebirah by Ebirah's left claw and is about to slam him or judo flip him. But in the movie, he actually grabs Ebirah by Ebirah's right claw and then judo flips him. So again, this is accurate, but it's semi-accurate because Godzilla is holding actually the wrong claw. But this does happen, but again, it's semi-accurate. But I had to really clarify that because again, I've seen people go back and forth about this, and again, they're not wrong, but still some clarity need to be established here. So again, this is accurate, but actually Godzilla is holding the wrong claw because he holds the right claw in the film. But still, nonetheless, this is a great moment because as a Godzilla fan, when you see this, you know exactly where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? And it's a dynamic pose. I know when this kit, or at least when this figure was first announced, a lot of people were happy for it, such as myself. But I know there were some people that were kind of like iffy about it because of the cradle here. And let me just tell you, I actually carried this because I am in a two-story home, right? And I assembled this first downstairs. I actually carried this with one hand because I had to carry a whole bunch of stuff upstairs. Don't know why I did that. But I actually carried this sculpture in one hand and some other stuff in another hand. And I went up the steps and it actually stayed intact. So you really have nothing to worry about if it comes to the cradle or Ebirah being suspended in midair like this. Like, don't worry about if you walk away for 5 minutes that you'll come back and he's all over the floor. No, as long as you're not giving an earthquake test every 5 minutes, it is stable. No different than the flying version of King Ghidorah that S Plus did. I've had that character, or at least that figure, going on like 3 or 4 years, and that figure has never come down. So if you have any issues, or at least any reservations that you ordered this thing, but you worried this thing may come toppling down, again, I can't stress enough, make sure that not only that the first part of Ebirah's body is inserted into the claw for Godzilla to hold him, but make sure that that cradle under the latter half of his body is firm and secure. You do that, you will not have any issues. I haven't had any issues. Again, I brought it up in one hand upstairs, and I'm going upstairs, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't fall apart, not one time. So again, as long as you're not doing this every single week or every 5 minutes when you hold the figure, it should be good. As long as you establish the cradle real well underneath Ebirah's body. But other than that, this is great. This is so great. So again, from the packaging, from the backstory, again, it took a long time to get here, but we finally got here. You know what I'm saying? People are already calling it figure of the year, and you know what? I can't argue with that. They're not wrong for feeling that way. Even though, in my opinion, there are a couple other figures that might give it competition, like Godzilla the Ride and the upcoming 25cm MonsterVerse King Ghidorah. You know, we should look past those awesome pieces, over this one, even though this one is really awesome. But I mean, it goes without saying, I think this thing will win overall figure of the year, regardless that it is a Rick exclusive, regardless that a lot of people don't really have this, quite frankly. You know, only those who did order it did get it, but it's not like a big release like a Rick exclusive in the standard release, quite frankly. But I still can see this thing winning figure of the year, and honestly, how can it not? Because it's so awesome, and it's so amazing, and so dynamic. So again, if you locked in for a pre-order for this guy and it's not arrived to your doorstep yet, trust me, you're going to love it when he arrives. And again, make sure that Ebirah is firmly established onto this cradle, and make sure everything, all the parts are inserted in him and all that good stuff. Make sure Godzilla's are firmly attached onto the base and all that good stuff, and you'll be good to go. And you know what? Normally it's another part of the video where I do a size comparison, and I am going to do a comparison where I'm going to bring up other figures from X Plus and other scales from the awesome year of 1966. Because again, 1966 was a great booming year when it comes to tokusatsu. Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, War of the Gargantuas, Daimajin, Ultraman, Ultra Q, Gamera vs. Barugon, you know what I'm saying? And I have a good chunk of those figures in my collection, so let's bring them all together in this first size comparison. Oh! I forgot one thing before we do the size comparison. Again, this movie is called Godzilla Ebirah Mothra, Big Duel in the South Seas. We have Godzilla and Ebirah here, so what's missing? What is missing, even though she did have a small role in the film, but she had a pivotal role in the film, even though it was somewhat, it can be considered, excuse me, a cameo. We're talking about Mothra, the queen of monsters. And you know what? I have this version of Mothra right here. This is a mini accessory that came with the 25 centimeter 66 Godzilla that I talked about earlier. This was the Rick accessory that came with that figure. So you know what? To make it a more balanced presentation, or at least a complete presentation, yes, she is not as big as the other monsters, but her name is still included into the piece here, so she should be included. So from moving forward, I'm going to put Mothra right here. Look at that. Look at that. And again, this is the Mothra that has the net. So, you know, this is great. So you put Mothra right here. Now, see, if you have this figure, or at least this piece right here, put Mothra right here at the base of Godzilla, and cradle it over the nameplate here. And again, you have all three monsters: Godzilla, Ebirah, Mothra, Big Duel in the South Seas. Yes! Oh, yeah, I had to get that out. I'm sorry, I almost forgot about that. But this is great. Seeing all three monsters together, oh my God, this is amazing. And I think I'm going to watch the movie after I cut this video together. All right, so let's do the first and only size comparison, or comparison in general. And as I mentioned earlier, I have some figures from other properties that came out in the year of 1966 along with this movie. So let's bring them all together in this first and only size comparison. So let's do that, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the only size comparison. And yes, this is an awesome sight to see. All these awesome monsters and characters that came out in the awesome year of 1966. And of course, the figures of the hour, of course, both Ebirah and Godzilla, as well as a little mini Mothra in the background. Let's go down the line and let's talk about the other figures here that came out in the year of 1966, or based off of characters that came out in 1966. Of course, next to Godzilla and Ebirah, I have the X Plus Gigantic Series Type C Standard Edition of Ultraman. Below him, I have the 30 centimeter Standard Edition of Daimajin. Below him, I have the 30 centimeter Rick Exclusive Edition of Barugon from Gamera vs. Barugon. Speaking of Gamera vs. Barugon, I have the 25 centimeter Gamera 1966 from Gamera vs. Barugon, opposed to him in the foreground. And of course, behind him, I have the 25 centimeter Rick exclusive set of the Dueling, Battling, Brothers of Destruction, the Gargantua, Sanda, and Garen. This is awesome. This is awesome, seeing all these different characters that came out in this awesome year of 1966. And I'm going to plug our latest supplemental video on Collect All Monsters, where myself, David Dopko, Eric Stope, as well as Michael Hamilton got together to discuss our thoughts and feelings and love of Kaiju of the 60s. And please check out that video. It's an awesome discussion. So it was a fun video, you know what I'm saying? But in the course of that video, we talked about the 60s, you know, the the Golden Age, which was, the early 60s with Mothra versus Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla, Monster Zero, blah, blah, blah. Then we talk about the later half. And in that video, it was nice to see that a few people showed a lot of love towards the Silver Age. Because again, a lot of people tend to gravitate towards the Golden Age, quite frankly. But a lot of people tend to forget all the awesome stuff that we got in the later 60s. And this shot right here is an awesome reminder of that. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it's easy to love Monster Zero, Mothra versus Godzilla, King Kong versus Godzilla, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, you know what I'm saying? But let's not forget all the awesome stuff he had in the later 60s. The Gargantuas, Ultraman, Damagen, the Gamera series, kicked off, you know what I'm saying? Destroy All Monsters, King Kong Escapes, Gamera versus Gauss. There were so many great things. And I think the theme of why a couple people on that video love the later 60s so much is because you get a great variety. A great variety. After they established Godzilla in the early 60s, a lot of studios saw that and was like, you know what, we got to get in on that. And as a result, we got so many great fun TV shows and movies that to try to capitalize on Godzilla's success. And us fans, we ultimately benefited from it. And this shot right here is a direct reminder how awesome the later 60s was. Yes, it's great to gravitate towards the Golden Age, but don't sleep on the Silver Age, because there were a lot of stuff, great stuff, fun stuff that came out in that era as well. But this is a great size comparison with the various figures from this awesome year of 1966. Oh my God, this is amazing. As you can see here, they look well up against the Ebirah set. It is so awesome. It is so amazing. Yes. So that's it with the first and only size comparison. So let's go with my final commentary portion of the video with my final thoughts of the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line 30 centimeter figure set of both Ebirah and Godzilla from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. So let's go there, ladies and gentlemen, right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line 30 centimeter Rick exclusive set of Godzilla vs. Ebirah 1966 from their epic appearance in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Once again, 10 out of 10. I don't have any issues with this figure. I don't have any problems with this figure. I don't have any nitpicky issues at all. Again, the antenna thing, that's not really an issue, because as you can see here, they've been firmly intact throughout the entirety of the video. Again, as long as you're not shaking it or, again, put it through earthquake tests every week, you should be good to go. But again, I can't stress enough about the cradle underneath Ebirah's body. I know I've done it a few times earlier on in the video. But once you put everything together soundly, firmly, you got yourself an awesome piece. And again, if you have the Mothra, mini Mothra here, add that to the set, you know what I'm saying, or at least to the presentation. And again, you have somewhat of a complete setup here when it comes to this epic movie, quite frankly. But again, Ebirah looks great. Godzilla looks great. The base looks great. The whole package looks great. And again, after delay, we finally got this thing in our hands, and this thing was well worth the wait. And also, again, if you're going to get this figure, they won't properly fit in a normal shelf. You probably need to have him out in the open, especially again with it being so tall and Ebirah's antenna here, because this set, height-wise, it could rival a gigantic series figure, quite frankly. So you're going to need some space for him. Again, don't house him within a shelf. I say just leave him out in the open, or at least put him on the top shelf, because this is top shelf quality here, people. This is top shelf quality with this awesome piece. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's cool that the resin kit came out, because again, we all know that resin kind of packs more of a punch in terms of detail on a resin piece, but versus a vinyl piece. But I have to say, this vinyl piece is great. It is awesome. Don't sell the vinyl piece short either. But again, whether you go after the resin piece or this piece right here, again, if you're a fan of this movie or these monsters, you owe it to yourself to go after this set. And again, I mentioned a few times before in the video that a lot of people are already calling it figure of the year. And again, they're not wrong, and I can understand that. Even though, in my opinion, I can see that argument, but I also understand that we should not look past Godzilla the Ride figure, because that figure was an amazing figure too, as well as the upcoming 25 centimeter King Ghidorah 2019, quite frankly. And a lot of people were going gaga for those pieces as well. So I would say those three are in the top three. But again, if this thing does win, which more likely it probably will, I would not be surprised because this thing is amazing. And also, from a fandom standpoint, a lot of people have been really getting excited about this piece. Like, when this thing finally started shipping out after it got delayed a couple times, the amount of people showcasing their tracking numbers on Facebook and just every little notification that they would get that this package is getting closer to them, they would just share that with the world. And it's nice to see that type of excitement. You know, especially when it comes to our collecting fandom. Yes, it's exciting to collect these figures coming from Japan and blah, blah, blah. And we have been kind of hammered with the MonsterVerse stuff, quite frankly, which is nothing wrong with that. And if you love the MonsterVerse, I love the MonsterVerse. But I want more variety when it comes to what I want to collect for myself. You know, I don't want to only collect MonsterVerse. I want to collect Heisei. I want to collect Millennium. I want to collect Showa. And to see this piece that frankly comes from a movie that, in my opinion, gets almost criminally overlooked in the franchise, at least in the fandom, and to see a lot of people get excited for it, and it just kind of rejuvenates that excitement that we should all feel as collectors in this fandom. And to see this piece do that for a lot of people, it's really been cool to see that. You know what I'm saying? Of course, people, again, are excited about the new MonsterVerse stuff. But somebody like myself who is old school, who's a Showa fan, you know, and a lot of other like-minded people like myself, we have been really happy that this thing is finally here. We were so happy when we first saw this thing coming back in February. But to go through all these months and the setbacks and all this good stuff, and to finally have it in our possessions and to see people respond favorably to it, has been a really, really cool thing to see as a collector. So keep up the good work, folks. You know what I'm saying? Share that excitement. And for those who are still getting this guy or these guys and have not arrived to you yet, share it. Share it on Facebook. Share it with the world. Share it on YouTube, whatever, because this thing is worth celebrating. Again, this is amazing. Godzilla is amazing. Ebirah is amazing. The whole presentation with the base, everything all put together is amazing. And again, if this thing does win Figure of the Year, it will not surprise me because this thing is all that and a bag of chips. Yes, yes. So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line 30cm Rick exclusive set of Godzilla vs. Ebirah 1966. From the epic appearance from their epic film from 1966, Godzilla Ebirah Mothra, big duel in the South Seas, also known as Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. You have any questions, holler me down in the comment section. Hit me on Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We definitely will go from there. Yes, once again, awesome set. Oh, God, this thing is amazing. 10 out of 10 people. We got a great one here. You know what I'm saying? I don't see any issues. Again, I don't see any misfires. I don't see anything wrong with this set. This is great. And again, the base didn't originally come with the kit, and X Plus whipped up this awesome one on its own. Again, with the black murky churning water and the rocky base around it. And, you know, combined with the monsters here, you got yourself an awesome piece that represent this awesome movie, in my opinion, of Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. So this is great. Man, again, if you locked in to get this guy or these guys, you will love it. You will definitely love it. And again, I can see this thing win overall Figure of the Year because, you know, it's unique. It's dynamic. It has an astounding presence in your collection. So why can't it win Figure of the Year, in my opinion? So this is great. Oh, plug. On November 4th, the day after Godzilla's birthday, on Collect All Monsters as a supplemental video. It's going to be like around, that's going to be on a Friday. So around Friday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, myself, Eric Stoltz, and Michael Hamilton from the Monsters with Attitude crew, as well as Godzilla fan freaks himself, Eric Grondin. We all will get together because they got this set as well. So we're all going to get together on a live stream video and just give you our thoughts or our first impressions of this awesome set. And spoiler alert, it's going to be positive. It's going to be highly positive. So again, November 4th around 9 o'clock on the Collect All Monsters YouTube channel, the Godzilla vs. Ebirah Favorite Sculptors line set. First impressions live stream discussion between myself, Eric Stoltz, Michael Hamilton, and Godzilla fan freaks himself, Eric Grondin. So we hope to see you there. But again, if you locked in to get these guys, you will not be disappointed. So ladies and gentlemen, I finally give to you more likely overall the Figure of the Year of 2022, the X Plus Favorite Sculptors line Rick exclusive set of the 30cm Godzilla vs. Ebirah 1966 from the epic appearance from Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. Yes. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on the next figure and movie review. All right. Y'all take it easy.